Asampayetia Obayansa Fuso Bunia one can asam. They mafu to some kakre wa supeme. Yo kofi, oh man ya woman, oh man ya mama. Deni baby ako, wata da ya wareni. Wonsom, wani pa, asa de pa wofio ye. Demo yembera ye, ebe ya inana. Oh man ya woman, oh man ya mama. Adi waya no ra, nyamita da nyamana renya. Wonsom, wani pa, so ya wana be. Demo yembera ye, ebe ya inana. Wonsom, wani pa, asa de pa ofio yo. Demo yembera ye, ebe ya inana.
Hi there. Good evening. Good evening, fellow citizens. Good evening. And welcome to your most thought-provoking, your number one social dialogue, the Social Digest, brought to you by CORE, Congress of Reforming Ethics. It's been a while. What are we digesting today, folks? What are we digesting today? A very, very interesting topic, titled Epistle to All Christians and Non-Christians. Proverbs 25 verse 5, save your prayers. Save your prayers, folks. Interesting topic. Epistle to all Christians and non-Christians. Proverbs 25 verse 5, save your prayers. Before I begin, folks, may I ask you a question, which also happens to be the beginning of my presentation this evening. Have you ever wondered why God does not intervene in the atrocities of our world? Have you? In the era of World War, where millions were massacred, no divine intervention. Ethnic cleansing, where thousands were cruelly treated to death, no divine intervention. Wars among nations, where thousands were brutalized, no divine intervention. Civil wars, where innocent women and children and men were brutally murdered, still no divine intervention. In most situations, you can tell that humans have no solution for their insanity. We can kill and kill and kill, just on a killing spree. We can kill, and when we are tired, we call for truce and resume killing again, yet no divine intervention. This makes many people wonder the existence of God and whether He really sees everything that goes on earth. And batted not. I was one of the skeptics who questioned the existence of God in the light of battering and afflictions on humanity. In my quiet moment one day, folks, meditating on why there is no divine intervention on atrocities of our world, a scene was virtually open to my view. And in the scene, a young man met God and decided to test God to see if He really sees everything that goes on earth. The young man secretly gathered some items around, like a piece of stone, a piece of wood, a seed, and a leaf in a closed box, and said to God, God, I am going to pick one of these items secretly behind me. If truly you are God and sees everything that goes on around, you tell me the exact item I picked. Interested, isn't it? So the young man went ahead and secretly picked the piece of stone, tied it in his palm, and held it behind him. Then asked God to mention what he picked. God said, "It's a dove." The young man said, "No, it's a stone." As he opens his palm to show it to God, to his surprise, it was a dove, and the dove flew away. He couldn't believe it. He went ahead and then secretly picked the seed and asked God once again to tell him what he had in his palm. Then God said, "It's a snake." He then felt something moving in his palm and quickly dropped it. To his surprise, it was a snake. Upon observing what went on between God and the young man, I realized that not only that God has the power to see all things, but the power to turn things around, and that what he says is what it is. This got me furious and asked God, why has he then forsaken us when we pray day and night for our nation's prosperity, interventions in war, and for good leadership, and he listened not to us? God said to me, prayers will not work on this, Godwin. Prayers will not work on this, but we should save our prayers. We should save our prayers. Suddenly my eye opened wide in surprise. Save our prayers, you said, my Lord. I asked. He then gave me a quote from the Bible, Proverbs 25 verse 5, and that his blessings will not be upon us until we effectively exercise Proverbs 25 verse 5, which reads, remove wicked officials from the king's presence, and his throne shall be established in righteousness. End of quote. The Lord further added, wise rulers have counselors to assist in decisions. They cannot know all the details of every part of the kingdom or nation, so they rely on counselors for help. But if these advisors are wicked, a good ruler will be corrupted by evil influence and deceit. These evil men must be removed so that the kingdom or a nation can prosper in righteousness. The Lord went ahead and added, Proverbs 25:4. A good ruler is silver, and wicked advisers are the dross. If the dross is taken away, the purifying ruler will be able to lead his kingdom to wonderful prosperity. Righteousness exalts a nation. Therefore, wickedness must be publicly crushed to obtain my blessing. Save your prayers, he said. I am a God of thy word. And thousands of years ago, I warned you of the predicament of this type of leadership you cry for, but you hearken not to my voice. I also told you, when that day comes, and ye cry unto me to save you, I will not listen to your cry. To refresh your mind, Godwin, go to the Bible and read 1 Samuel 8-18, said the Lord. So quickly, fellow citizens, quickly, I picked up my Bible and flipped to 1 Samuel 8-18. Apparently, it was the era where the Israelites were asking for a king. In other words, a type of leadership. Fellow citizens, fellow Christians, if you have a Bible, quickly pick it up and let's read this particular quote. 1 Samuel 8-18. And it reads, 8 says, when Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as Israel's leaders. The name of the firstborn was Joel, and the name of the secondborn was Abijah. And they served in Beersheba. But his sons did not follow his ways. They turned aside after dishonest gain and accepted bribes and perverted justice. When you go to the 4th, it says, so all the elders of Israelites gathered and came to Samuel at Ramah. They said to him, you are old, Samuel, and your sons do not follow your ways. Now, appoint a king to lead us, such as all the other nations have. When you go to the verse 6, it says, but when they said, give us a king to lead us, this displeased Samuel. So he prayed to the Lord. And the Lord told him, listen to all that the people are saying to you. It is not you that they have rejected, but they have rejected me as their king and leader, as they have done from the day I brought them up out of Egypt until this day, forsaking me and serving other gods. So they are doing to you. Now listen to them, but warn them solemnly and let them know what the king who will reign over them will claim as his rights. And when you go to the verse 10, Samuel told all the words of the Lord to the people who were asking him for a king. So he said, this is what the king who will reign over you will claim as his right. He will take your sons and make them serve with his chariot and horses, and they will run in front of his chariot. Folks, do not be deluded by the word chariot and say that was the era of monarchy and had nothing to do with us today. Okay? Just the fact that you had chariot, oh, this is the monarch era, the king and the queen era, and that had nothing to do with us today. And that we are in democracy, and it got nothing to do with us today. Do not be deluded. The characteristics of what the Lord said thousands of years ago still prevail. Folks, still prevail. What do we have today? We have presidential motorcade, and what do you see? You see the sons of men running in front of the motorcade. Today, the characteristics of what God said thousands of years ago still prevails. Still prevails. Okay? Let's move on. Let's move on. Today, what do we have? Presidential motorcade. Alright? Presidential motorcade. And then we have what? Men, sons of men, running in front of the motorcade. Okay? Let's move on. When you go to the verse 12, he says, some he will assign to the commanders of thousands and commanders of fifties, meaning he will raise his own army to do his own bad deeds in the name of protecting you. The characteristics still prevails today. And others to plow his ground and reap his harvest. Others to make weapons of war and equipment for his chariots. the characteristics still prevails. We have companies that manufacture weapons of war. Okay, sometimes when they manufacture atomic bomb, all these bombs, I used to wonder, what exactly are they going to use this bomb for? To kill animals? People are manufacturing all these weapons in the aim of to kill humans. This was said to us thousands of years ago. Folks, thousands of years ago. Let us move on. When you go to the 13, he said, he will take your daughters to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. 14 says, he will take the best of your fields and vineyards and olive groves and give them to his attendants. He will take a tenth of your grain and of your vintage and give it to his officials and attendants. Tenth of your what? Grains. What are those? Taxes. Folks, taxes. He will take tenth of your grain and of your vintage and give it to his officials and attendants. Your male and female servants and the best of your cattle and donkeys he will take for his own use. And when you go to 17, it says, he will take a tenth of your flock, and you yourself will become his slave. Folks, and you yourself will become his slave. Our hard-working monies today, our hard-working funds today in the form of taxes are what is used today to luxuriously provide for them while we wallow in misery. The characteristics still prevails. The characteristics still prevail. And when you go to the verse 18, it says, when that day comes, you will cry out for relief from the king you have chosen. But the Lord will not answer you in that day. Interesting, isn't it? This particular point, I always say, somebody should have gagged God's mouth and say, please, my Lord, don't say that. Don't say that. Forgive them. Because you know why? God's words are his words. Whatever he says is what he does. So for him to say he will not listen to us when we cry upon him, and that we should save our prayers, that is what he's telling us. This explains why no matter the battering or afflictions on us by our leadership, our system of governance we chose to be governed by, the Lord listened not to our cry. No matter the trouble. I mean, we've been doing that for God knows how long. We've been praying for countries upon country. In the midst of war, you find people pray, but nothing happened. He told us, he said, he will not listen to our cry. Therefore, if you wonder why there is no divine intervention on whatever suffering we undergo as humans, this is the reason. The Lord said he would not listen, and his words are his words. He will not listen. In fact, this particular quote made me understood why there is no divine intervention. Because this is God. His words are his words. Whatever he says is what happened. If he says, I'm going to bless you no matter what, God blesses you. Let him have covenant with you and be the most criminal ever. That covenant still holds. If he says, I'm going to bless you no matter what, the blessing still holds. So when the same God said, I am not going to listen to your cry, this explains it. Because we chose the type of our leadership. So this is it. But as merciful as God is, fellow citizen, he provides to us in the Bible the method of making our situations better, which happens to be the answers to our prayers. Folks, answers to our prayers, citizen, fellow Ghanaians, are not real time, are not instant. They are methods to make our situations better. If not 100%, about 99.9% of our prayers have been answered by the Bible. Even what we are yet to pray for, folks, has been answered by the Bible. What we are yet to pray for has already been answered by the Bible. All that we need to do is to apply. In the case of bad leadership, bad governance, the Lord did not ask us to pray because he told us it's not going to listen. But he said, Proverbs 25 verse 5. Proverbs 25 verse 5. We should remove wicked officials from the king's presence, and his throne shall be established in righteousness. Wicked here does not mean stabbing a pregnant woman in the stomach or cutting someone by the throat. Wicked means corrupt. The Lord did not say we should ask the king to remove corrupt officials from his presence, as we always call on the presidents to fight corruption, because he knew that the king can hardly do. But we should remove wicked officials from the king's presence. In other words, having a governance system that ensures the removal of corrupt officials produce the wanted results. Produce the wanted results. We can never attain the peace we envisage as people. We can never attain the development we envisage as a nation. We can never attain the felicity we envisage as people to posterity if we do not assure that our system of governance is Proverbs 25 verse 5. And there is no amount of prayers that will save us. There is no amount of prayers that will save us. The Lord made it emphatically clear in 1 Samuel 8:18 that he will not listen to our cry. He will not listen to our cry. If we believe that when the Lord says he will bless us, and no matter what it is, he will bless us because his words are his words, we should believe it when he said he will not listen to our cry. Because the Lord we worship is no hypocrite. We should believe it. So when it comes to issues of our governance, what we need to do is to ensure that the governance system is Proverbs 25 verse 5. It has what it takes to remove wicked officials from the king's presence. It is the only thing that can save us, but not prayers. I'm not the one saying it. It is the Bible. And interestingly, folks, Proverbs 25 verse 5 is the panacea to all our problems. It's the panacea to all our problems. Any nation or a country that is doing well today and prospering, it doesn't matter whether it's a Hindu nation, Christian nation, Islamic nation, a nation without religion. It does not matter. Any nation at all that is doing well today. Proverbs 25 verse 5 happens to be the foundation of their development. Any nation. Any nation. Lee Kuan Yew once said that When people believe they can build skyscrapers out of nothing, it's very tempting. When people believe they can build skyscrapers out of nothing, it's very tempting. So he ensures that the foundation of his governance is Proverbs 25 verse 5. And this is what took Singapore from third world to above first world. China will never be China if they do not exercise this. Go to most countries that are doing well today. This happens to be the foundation. You see, Proverbs 25 verse 5 ensures fiscal discipline, meaning funds intended for projects shall be used judiciously. Promote accountability, meaning the executive, the tax workers of the country shall be held responsible for their actions and reactions. Curb political nostrum, meaning projects meant to alleviate our plight. Projects meant to alleviate our plight. Your suffering and my suffering shall be thoroughly thought through to ensure that it serves the intended purpose. Curb mediocrity, foster citizen loyalty to the affairs and what? Development of the entire nation. Indeed, Proverbs 25 verse 5 is the panacea to nations' predicament and the foundation to all nations' development. Folks, to all nations' development. As it stands now, our systems of governance is anti-Proverbs 25 verse 5. As it stands now, our systems of governance is anti-Proverbs 25 verse 5. Aid and abet wicked officials to perpetuate their wickedness. Folks, listen. If you don't know, listen to this. We are practicing a system of governance that says the very people we entrust the resources of our nations to should be the same people to approve to themselves, investigate themselves, report to themselves, and prosecute themselves where found liable. This is definitely anti-Proverbs 25 verse 5 and the cause of all our problems. Is the cause of all our problems. Okay? Whatever problem you have, okay, that day and night, we kept on going to church and be praying, but this is the cause of all our problems. It's the cause of our religious problem, our family problem, our economic problem, our environmental problem. Every problem you think of, this is the cause of all our problems. To ensure that our system of governance is pro-Proverbs 25 verse 5, we must ensure that bodies that are mandated to check on all of us, such as Parliament, the prosecution powers, the police, are not directly under the control of the executive, the tax workers of the country. Most importantly, Parliament, folks, Parliament. Our Parliament needs to be true independent. Our Parliament needs to be true independent. Our Parliament is weak and ineffective. Contrary to popular belief, the ineffectiveness of our Parliament is not due to the number of ministers appointed by the President from Parliament. It is not. It is due to the entrenched bipartisan posture of Parliament that arbitrarily gives the powers of Parliament to one party, which always have to be the winning party, the executive. Our Parliament is not designed to effectively perform its functions by two parties, but a multi-party system. That is what our Parliament is designed for. What is the solution here? What is the solution here? In the interim, we should vote mostly for independent MPs and vote mostly for parliamentarians belonging to other political divides, to strike away this arbitrarily outright majority in Parliament. This shall force the winning parties to go into coalition with other parties in decision making in Parliament, thereby ensuring that Parliament becomes true independent to effectively check on the executives to produce the wanted result and stop, folks, and stop them from living like demigods. Like demigods. On the other hand, we should seek for reforms in our constitution for an auxiliary body made up of all representatives of civil society organizations and be trusted with the oversight mandate of Parliament. Also, elections of parliamentarians should be mid-term of that of the executive. This shall ensure that our Parliament become true independent to really check on the executive. Folks, on the executive, I'll give you a typical example. It took Occupy Ghana, a civil society movement, to put pressure on the Auditor General to do the very mandate that Constitution entrusted them to do. To the extent of even going to the court to force them to do their job. Folks, when you read the Constitution, the Auditor General reports to Parliament. And in a line of duty, if you are to report to me, the onus lies on me to ensure that you do your job well. What was Parliament doing? This very act from Occupy Ghana is an indictment on Parliament. But you see, I don't blame Parliament. Per the practice. The same executive that the Auditor General audits happens to be their own people who controls Parliament. Per the practice. We need to ensure that our Parliament is true independent. The prosecution powers. The prosecution powers of Ghana is vested in the Attorney General by Article 88, Clause 3 of our Constitution, who is unilaterally appointed by the executives, and the Constitution failed to guarantee the independency of the prosecutor. What it means is that, folks, the executives are expected to prosecute themselves where found liable. Your guess is mine. That is what it means. The executive are expected to prosecute themselves. Your guess is mine. When the system failed to put the executive to check, what happens is it paves way for everybody to corrupt. And the examples are all over us. What is the solution here? The solution here is the prosecution power of this country should be given to an independent prosecutor who shall report to the independent Parliament, and the Attorney General should be made the legal advisor of the government. This shall ensure that everybody is put to check. Let's go to the police. Perhaps I should take some time to take you through the formation of the police council as enshrined in the Constitution, and you can tell for yourself why our police are unable to put the executive to check. You can tell for yourself. Let's go to the Article 201 of our Constitution. Article 201 stipulates, there shall be established a police council which shall consist of the following. Folks, listen to this. A, the vice president, who shall be the chairman of the council. Who does the vice president belong to? The executive, the president, the executive. B, the minister of the minister responsible for internal affairs, who does it belong to? The executive, the president. C, the inspector general of police, who does it belong to? The executive. D, the attorney general or his representative, who does it belong to? The executive. E, a lawyer nominated by Ghana Bar Association. Let's put this aside. F, a representative of retired senior police officers association, who happens to be under what? The IGP. And who does our IGP belong to? The executive. G, 2 members of the police service appointed by the president, acting in consultation with the Council of State, one whom shall be a junior rank. This particular clause, I wonder if the inspector general, who happened to be the head of the police, okay, is unilaterally appointed by the president without any consultation. Why is it that appointing, okay, his subordinates, and that the Council of State should come in? This manner. But at the end of the day, who does it belong to? The same executive. When you go to F, 2 members appointed by the president. Oh, very interesting. And guess what? The president, who happens to be the chief executive, is also the flag bearer of what? A party. So the whole council is made up of what? What we call, somebody we call party apparatus. So what do you think? They directly control our police left and right. No wonder if a police arrests anybody and then they say, oh, call from above, the policeman have to salute. Even though the people are perpetuating illegality. It is even wrong for a police to arrest somebody who is breaking the law, for somebody else to call for that person to be released. But what happened? Because they control the entire police service. The entire police service. So they push the police to go and do whatever they want and not what the law says. Folks, not what the law says. By looking at the formation of the police council, you can tell why the police are incapable or incapacitated when it comes to ensuring that the executives and their cronies are put to check. As they fail to put the executive to check, it paved way for everybody to corrupt. What is the solution here? What is the solution here? For the police chief, the president should still appoint, that is the executive powers, but this time 3 members to be vetted by the independent parliament to choose the best based on competency. The tenure of the head of the police, of the IGP, should be 2 or 3 years more than that of the executive. That is, if the executive year of the tenure is 4 years, it should be 6 years or 7 years. Folks, the removal of the head of the police should be that given to the justice of High Court, where you can only take that person by impeaching the person when he's not doing his job well, or is corrupted, or there's an infraction of the law of how he handles certain things. You can only impeach that person, and he must go through the process, just as what is given to the justice of High Court, except that in Article 146 Clause 5, that a report should be given to the president. Okay, this particular report should be directed to the independent parliament and not the president. Where a recommendation is made by the committee of parliament for the purposes of removal of the head of the police to the president should or should immediately suspend the head of the police and nominate within 1 week 3 persons to parliament for the purposes of choosing a new police chief. The chairman of the police council should be ripped off the vice president to an ex-police chief who had credibly discharged he or her functions, nominated by what? The president, and vetted by the independent parliament, chosen based on credibility. The position of the Attorney General in the Police Council should be for the independent prosecutor. I do not profess that the above solutions are in themselves absolute to the challenges that confront us as a nation, but to serve as a roadmap to make us think to make the above entities independent as possible. Let us all come together to transform this totalitarian system of governance, this anti-Proverbs 25 verse 5 system of governance that is devaluing our lives, and for that matter, devaluing Ghana in the name of building a better Ghana. The least you can do is to promote this presentation. Fellow citizens, the least you can do is to promote this presentation. Prayers shall not save us in this. Let me repeat this. Prayers shall not save us in this. Eventually, we are going to hit a deadlock, and it's going to be catastrophic. Prayers shall not save us in this, because the one to whom we pray to made it clear in 1 Samuel 8-18 that he would not listen to our cry, but enjoins us to ensure that our leadership, our system of governance is Proverbs 25 verse 5 to obtain his blessings. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for listening.
Asampayetia Obayansa foso obunye wonka na asam ze mafutu sam kakre wa asopeme yo kofi oman ya woman omani ya mama deni baby ako wata da ya wareni wonsom woni pa asa de pa wo fe oye yamo yembera ye ebe ya inena amaya umano amaya mamana adiwa ya nora nyamita da nyamana renya wanso wanyinyi pa sawa ya wanabe yamo yembera ye ebe ya inena wanso wanyinyi pa Azadepa ofioyo kamo yembera ye ebe ya efiana amabe ya efiana amabe yo asite be ya efiana oh amabe ya efiana yana kamo yembera ye ebe ya obra you arabo Yamishira, Mamani Paya, the Foa, and Yanum, Yafanya Misroya, Jumana, Yami Besrayan, Abraya Boya, Amoya Murae, Abeya, Efiana, Amabaya, Efiana, Yanoma, Asita. Kamo yemberaye, ebe ya.